What's going on, everyone? I was pretty surprised to see on one of my previous videos that a lot of you wanted to see a re-up of the double yellow Asajj deck, an extremely fast kind of one-trick line similar to double red Kylo, where games can end extremely fast if your opponent's not prepared for it. And set 4 did bring along a bunch of tools that I have really found quite strong in double yellow Asajj, so I figured why not? Let's dive in back to, again, another deck that can reliably kill on turn 3 with the Asajj flip. There's a lot of cool stuff with this list. So before we dive into the list, let's go ahead and give a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. It is an amazing time hanging out with all of you in Discord, jumping in for the tournaments, all that great stuff. And also, I have a TCG player link in the description down below if you want to pick up any Star Wars Unlimited cards. But I first want to dive into the actual newbies for the deck. First of which being Commandeer. By far, the best edition of the deck. Now, I didn't go the full 3 of because in certain matchups, Commandeer is a lot weaker. But if you have a matchup where your opponent's playing any sort of vehicles, this perfectly fits into the mid game of what Asajj is trying to do. After that early pressure that you're putting on your opponent with the Asajj flip and attacking all this stuff, you kind of enter this stage where if you got enough damage in, you're probably finishing out the game. But if you didn't, you kind of slow down to a slow loss. And Commandeer really helps out with that, because you grab an opponent's vehicle, you bounce it at the end of the turn, which can really set them back to push even more damage in. But most importantly, it gets immediately readied up when you yoink that vehicle, and that means you can attack with it. And that means that you can also use Asajj's action on that vehicle you're attacking with, which means you get a +1 powered up commandeered vehicle. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So much better than Change of Heart. So much better. I mean, the difference between Commandeer and something like a Change of Heart is massive because of the ability for your opponent to just play a card and then you get to immediately take it. Even if it's not readied up, you get to ready it. It is insanely strong. But that's not all. We also have Torpedo Barrage, another really excellent one. This is a 3 resource, deal 5 indirect damage to a player. If your opponent has no units out, this is 5 damage burn. That is incredible. Not only that, but also it triggers Asajj's ability. So even if it's only doing like 3 damage to your opponent and they're taking 2 to their unit or whatever, well, guess what? We get another action with Asajj, which gives another power. We also have Zygerian Starhopper. And for those of you that don't know, this is a Now There Are Two of Them deck. Which means we want all Underworld cards on turn 1, and Zygerian Starhopper is an Underworld card that also deals indirect damage. So a little bit better than something like a Cartel Spacer in most situations for us, and also a little bit nice to not have to go for Dr. Evazan, even though Dr. Evazan can be really good in some matchups. In other matchups, I'd really rather have a Zygerian Starhopper, but that also gives us more targets for Bosk and Zuckuss, as the Now There Are Two of Them, since Zygerian Starhopper is an Underworld card. As far as the rest of the deck, as I mentioned, we got a bunch of Underworld 2-drops, pretty high power, or things that are going to survive, hopefully. Toro, 7th Fleet as our only 3-drop, 7th Fleet as a survivable one, Toro as potentially an immediately readied upable unit, as if you do play a Bounty Hunter, you're able to ready it up, and all of our 4 and 5 drops are Bounty Hunters. And then we have a bunch of events, things like Breaking In and Surprise Strike to get in massive chunks of damage, Cunning as a disgusting card on the doorstep for immediately readied up units to trigger with Asajj's action, and Waylays for disruption, No Get to Be Deads for disruption. The deck is really fun. It is a lot event focused, and you will have very swingy matchups where you feel like you are absolutely dominating and the deck is really tough to beat, and then other matchups where, well, sometimes you just get messed up in the early game and can really slow you down. Of course, we're going to play those today on video. Let's dive into it. All right, into our first matchup, I think, up against Piet Blue. By the way, please let me know in the comment section down below if you all still enjoy the new layout. I've been actually really having a lot of fun with it, so I am excited to see what you all think. We're going to go ahead and resource a couple things here. I think I'm going to resource... I could resource the Now There Are Two of Them, but if I happen to draw a 5-drop, I'm going to really regret it. So I'm actually going to go with the Torpedo Barrage and the Cartel Spacer, because if I don't... Ooh, okay. They're going to go with the Inferno 4. Let's go with the yeah, let's go with the Crafty Smuggler here. Something that's going to be pretty hard to defeat. But if I draw a 5-drop here, I would really, really regret going with the Torpedo Barrage in my hand. And in this case, I regret resourcing the Torpedo Barrage. They're going to resupply. We're going to drop in another Crafty Smuggler, and we are going to pass. Already, I'm not liking our chances here. Now there are 2 of them. Pretty bad card at this stage, but we do have the Cunning, which Cunning does do some good work. We will see what my opponent is going to do here. Okay, so we've got Cunning. Do I want to make them discard and +4/+0? I think I do. I think I'll go +4/+0 onto my Crafty Smuggler and make them discard a random card. We got ourselves the Client. I was hoping to hit one of their big space units. This also really helps. Looks like they have a resupply carrier. That's fine. We're going to be able to use the attack in with Asajj to hit in for 7, and then attack it with the Crafty Smuggler for another 2, and then get in for even more damage with the Asajj for 5. So a really nice swing. Doesn't mean we're out of the clear yet. Piet can do some nasty things. They're going to claim initiative. We are going to deploy Asajj and get in for 5, and then we're going to pass. On the doorstep is a quite nice draw, to be honest. That can give us some immediately ready to power, which is exactly what we're looking for. Breaking in is a great card here as well. They have a Darth Vader. Darth Vader is great for them. Hopefully they don't hit a Sentinel. Sentinel would be pretty brutal. They're going to go with a Piet. Sure. Do I want to go with the on the doorstep? I don't know if I do. I can go with on the doorstep, which will get in for 3. So that's total. I think what I'll start with is, I think I'll start with an attack for 2, just to see what my opponent's going to do. Attack for 2. I will go out and play Bosk and kill the Piet. They're going to have to attack my Bosk next turn. We're going to get in for 2 here. Well, actually, hold on. I think I'm just going to claim initiative. And we are going to get in with breaking in here. I'm going to attack Petronaki Arena. Ooh, Commandeer could be excellent. Waylay also could be pretty good. We're going to go with breaking in here and then just get in with Bosk. We can deal 2 damage to a unit. May as well just deal 2 damage to something. They've got a Vigilance. Ooh, Vigilance is a nasty card in this spot. That means that we are going to just go ahead and get in for even more damage here. I could have commandeered the resupply carrier, I suppose. Let's go in with a on the doorstep here. Vigilance was not something I necessarily expected in this deck. Let's go ahead and get in for 1 here. If they attack here, I think I'm just going to commandeer. Yeah, let's go ahead and claim initiative and commandeer. Hopefully we draw like a surprise strike or something of that note. Okay, they're going to go commandeer on the resupply carrier. And that could put us over the edge if they have nothing. They've had a really good hand to deal with what we got going on. Vigilance, the resupply. They had the Darth Vader to kill our Asajj. So really, really solid works. That's a no glory only result. We're going to get in for 3 with the Crafty Smuggler here. I will attack for 1, and then I will attack for another 1 here. Surprise strike, guys. That type of stuff is immediately. Ooh, I think I'm going to claim initiative here. So many things just win me the game. Shoot first, surprise strike, breaking in. Just so many things win me the game. Breaking in, surprise strike, literally drew the 2. That's going to be GG. GG to my opponent. My opponent had a really nice hand, and we kept the now there are 2 of them at the start, in which we didn't draw into our 5-drop until a little bit later on. Obviously, if we went now there are 2 of them on turn 2, the game would have been so over. Like, the game was already pretty brutal for my opponent. And they had Vigilance and the Darth Vader. Like, their hand was quite good. Now, I will say with the Darth Vader, they didn't really grab much. And then grab the Piets. I suppose if they grabbed the Client, it would have been a little bit different. Still, really interesting. Looks like our opponent wasn't really running a more traditional Piet deck, I would say. But really fun stuff. Whew, close. Into our next hand, and we got a good one here. We got the Crafty Smuggler into the Zuckuss, into the attack for 3. We got it up against the Wedge Red deck. which is obviously a fantastic deck. They're probably going to race us. They are pretty good at racing here. We will see what they've got. R2D2, not something that they need to use the wedge ability for, but they did do so. So I suppose that is something. We're going to go with now there are two of them. Drop in a Zuckuss here. That's a 6/6. We're going to attack in for 3. They got a wing leader, but we have so many things to deal with this type of effect. We have waylays, no good to me deads. We've got, they should have probably put the Nian on the X-Wing. Cunning next turn would be disgusting. We've got to shoot first. Yeah, not exactly what I'm looking for, huh? Not exactly what I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and... Let's go with a shoot first. Get in for 9 here, or 7 rather. They can get in for 10, which is a lot of damage. We're going to use this to get in for 3. We're going to deploy Asajj here. And that's a red leader. We're going to go surprise strike in for 8. And that means we have 2 lethal threats. They did the bigs. Doesn't matter. We're going to win the game. This is a situation where, like, yes, they had a good hand. We had a really good hand. But if we drew any of our waylays, no good to me deads, or cunnings, the game would have been over anyways. So we had a lot of different things that were really good against wedge. They don't really have the ability to use Tarkin Town because all their units are in space usually. So not too surprising that we were able to win that with now there are 2 of them start. And by drawing the shoot first and surprise strike, it's actually pretty good. If I draw a waylay, obviously that's great as well, or like a cunning would be the perfect one. But just getting in a bunch of damage, like this represented not just 4 damage between shoot first and the surprise strike, but also another one from the Asajj action, right? So that's 5 damage, and another one on the Asajj attack itself, which is a total of 6 damage. So really insane there. Boom. That's a turn 4 win. Pretty sweet. Got ourselves a double red Boba Fett on the opposing side of the battlefield, and ooh boy, this is a fantastic hand. Do I want the Zuckuss or the Bosk? I think I actually prefer to have the Bosk in this situation, and we're gonna go with Zygerian Starhopper, and we're gonna hope that my opponent does not go ahead and kill the Zygerian Starhopper, because if they do, I feel like the game may just be over. It's a really risky hand. If they kill this Zygerian Starhopper, we are in big trouble. Ooh, shoot down, and that's basically game. I mean, there is nothing I can do here. Shoot down, not a common card to be running, but they do have it, and I went with the I'm gonna go with as much damage as possible, and or I went with the risky hand with the Zygerian Stopper, and now there are 2 of them, and this is what happens, right? This is exactly what happens. Bosk, not going to be that great anymore. We're going to just get down a bunch of units here. Shoot down. Whew, disgusting. Let's just get down a bunch of units, the Zygerian Starhopper and the Dr. Evazan. They've got a Fett's Fire Spray here. Okay. Let's go ahead and just take 2. We're going to take another one at the base. We're going to take another one when we deploy Dr. Evazan. We'll take 2 to Dr. Evazan and then 1 to the base. Cunning is pretty good here. I will flip Asajj, get in for 4. Cunning can potentially save us. Like, it does have an option. It'll bounce the Fett's Fire Spray, which would be pretty good. Double Cunning. Now we're talking. Drawing multiple Cunnings. I mean, that is pretty strong. That is definitely a strong option. We will see what my opponent decides to do here. They've got another shoot down. Ooh, that actually works out pretty nicely for us. Let's make my opponent take the 2 damage. Okay, take 1 on the Asajj. They took 2 damage. We're going to go Cunning. I'm going to give +4/+0 to the Dr. Evazan, and then I'm going to make the Fett's Fire Spray be bounced, so they cannot replay it this turn. And I think we're just going to go... They have an open fire as well. What a ridiculous, like, control hand here from my opponent. Very odd. I would not have expected the double shoot down, shoot down and the open fire here from my opponent. Very weird. Very, very weird. Cartel Spacer is pretty nice here, actually. I think I will resource just the one breaking in. I'm going to go Cartel Spacer, exhaust the TIE Bomber. I know they could deploy Boba Fett. I'm just hoping they don't have like a Fett's Fire Spray. If they do, we still have a chance because I can exhaust, pump, get in for 8, and then hopefully the surprise strike is going to carry me. But we will see. Let's take 2 to the Cartel Spacer. And then we'll take 1 to the base. We're going to go Cunning. We're going to go +4/+0 and return the Fett's Fire Spray to their hand. So really nice tempo play there. We're going to get in for 8 points of damage. We don't quite have the win with the surprise strike, so we're still risking here. They can deploy Boba Fett, which is pretty nice, but I mean, very not what I expected here in this game. Now the Boba Fett, it's 4 damage, not unpreventable. So still going to be able to get in for 8 here with the Dr. Evazan. They're going to claim we pass. Ooh. I mean, now there are 2 of them. Does allow me to deploy out that Forlom. Please don't have another open fire. I'm surprised they have open fire shoot downs and they're not running Tarkin Town. They have another open fire. You know, sometimes your opponent just has it all. Sometimes they have double open fire, double shoot down, and you're like, what? Sometimes. All right, let's take 3 onto the Forlom. We're going to claim initiative. We don't have anything else to do. This is not what I was expecting. The double open fire, double shoot down. That was pretty funny, honestly. I can't believe the game is this close. I can't believe it because we drew double Cunning. Cunning is an absurd card, guys. Planetary Bombardment. Well, I mean, sometimes you just get hit with the absolute nastiness that is Planetary Bombardment. Oh, geez. Now there are 2 of them, part 3, and we're going to go ahead and concede the game. Good matchup for my opponent. Definitely the way you want to go there. Obviously, if I had a 3-drop, I think we just win. Like, if I had any 3-drop, but I kept the hand with now there are 2 of them, and I did do the risky play. Like, I went with the hand, no other units. If we had any play on turn 2, the game would have been won because we had so many different events to use on those turns. So any event would have pulled out the win, but because we did absolutely nothing and we wasted 3 resources, it was just too much. On to the next. All right, everyone, we got a pretty good hand here. I'm going to resource this Toro. I'm going to go with the risky play again on this matchup. This one's going to be less risky because we have the initiative and we're playing a shielded unit. And they're against Sabine Green. So there's very few things that are actually going to be able to deal with Crafty Smuggler. Like, the thing they'd have to have is like ECL Sabine unit, which is almost never something that someone wants to do. Let's go claim initiative here. We're going to go with the now there are 2 of them into Zuckuss. They're going to deal 1 to each of us. I think that's actually pretty nice. Let's go ahead and resource the now there are 2 of them at this point. Couple of direct damage events here is great. I really do find that to be quite strong. We're just going to drop in and now there are 2 of them for that Zuckuss here on turn 2. And we'll probably just have him soak up a little bit of this Y-Wing damage. But we will see what my opponent's going to be doing with this Y-Wing. I may just spread out the damage a little bit across Crafty Smuggler and Zuckuss. But again, I don't want them being able to ECL out like K2 to kill it. So I might just go 1-1 and then 1 to our base. Opponent's still deciding on what to resource. We're going to go now there are 2 of them. Zuckuss. Great turn. We're also going to be able to get in for 3 with this Crafty Smugs. Ooh, Sabine's Masterpiece. Let's go ahead and get in for 3 here. And then they're going to attack. I think in this situation... Sabine doesn't have anything to really deal with our units here. We're going to go 1-1-1. Claim initiative. Deal 1 to each base. Ooh, that's risky. We're going to get a lot of damage in next turn. We've got another Zuckuss, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think I could just resource that. But I'm just going to get in as much damage as possible. It's a surprise strike in for 9 points of damage. We're going to be able to deploy Asajj. get the breaking in, which is 7 points, and then the one damage is 3, or the one trigger is another damage for the crafty smugs, which is gonna be 3. They have a Chewbacca, which they're using to get in a little bit extra damage, but that's not going to be quite enough. Rebel Assault, that's a great card. I mean, they are doing some racing shenanigans up against us. They're going to get in. We're going to take all of that onto the Zuckuss because we do not want them to just crush us. We're going to go breaking in for the last couple points. Now they have to win in the next turn. If they have a Rebel Assault, that's going to be 7, 8. That's technically enough. I suppose if they had a Rebel Assault, that would have been the win. But we got there. We got there with the absolute nastiness that is now there are 2 of them here. And we're going to close out the game. GG up against Sabine Green. Interesting hand from our opponent. I mean, they had a really aggressive hand as well, right? Y-Wing into Sabine's Masterpiece, into the Chewbacca plus Rebel Assault. Like, that's a lot of damage that they're pumping in, especially since Sabine's essentially attacks for 4, which is one of the higher powered units on turn 2. So that is something to consider. And then the Rebel Assault, just got in a ton of damage. So really sweet stuff. Close game. But we got there. All right, everyone, into our next matchup. We got a matchup against Rose Yellow. Honestly, I have no idea what I should be expecting here, but I do think that Commandeer is going to be a fantastic card. So let's go ahead and keep that one. Not a great hand. Not a great hand. But I think in this situation, I'll resource the Bosk because Forlom's a turn earlier. And I'll resource the Breaking In because I think Commandeer is going to carry us in this matchup. They got a Silver Angel. Nice. Cool. And we'll see if we could draw a 3-drop. Really, I want to see like a Toro here. Ooh, not great. Not great at all. This is some of the situations that can happen with this deck, right? We mulligan because we had no turn 1 plays, and we mulligan into a hand with very little action in terms of units, just a bunch of events. So we're going to hope that we are able to get there with the Commandeers. Commandeers are going to be the card that we're really relying on in this situation. And it could work. It could work out for us, right? Okay, Dilapidated Ski Speeder. Not exactly all that scary. They're going to heal 2 from the unit, though, which is going to be kind of cool. It is a 3/7, essentially, in this deck, right? Or in the Rose Tico deck. 3 resource, 3/7. I mean, it is a tough unit, Like, that is cool. We're not going to be able to Forlom it away, but we can go and Commandeer it. Should that matter? It might. They're not healing? Well, that was simply a mistake from our opponent. That was definitely a mistake. Because we're going to go Forlom and kill the Dilapidated Ski Speeder. Maybe they forgot to heal to... Oh, it's only attack, of course. They can only do it when they attack with that unit, of course. I was thinking it was like Obi-Wan for a second. So not a mistake from our opponent. That was just my mistake. Forgetting that you can't actually do that. Commandeer, though, looks excellent. Even though we missed... I never thought I would be seeing Frontier ATRT in my matchups. That is absolutely sweet. I don't even care. I do not even care. That is freaking hilarious. What a sweet thing to get hit by. Like, honestly, that is absolutely hilarious. Okay. That is hilarious. Wow. Okay. We will see what my opponent decides to do. They got a Rose Tico flip, which is going to kill our Asajj, which is pretty sweet for them. I think that we're in a reasonable position despite us only having an event on turn 2. The double Commandeers, I kept it because I was playing the long game, and I think it may pay off in this situation. Like the Commandeer on one of their big units, I should have something that's actually worth yoinking. Like the Dilapidated Ski Speeder, not great. The Frontier ATRT already gets that ambush out, so that's not fantastic either. Hopefully they're going to deploy something big here, like a big unit that we can go ahead and grab. My opponent's really thinking about this resource, though. We'll see what they've got. On the doorstep is not a bad one to play on this turn. Now there are two of them, pretty weak in this stage of the game. Of course, if we happen to draw like a big unit, that could have been good, but like a Bosk or a Zuckuss, that could have been reasonable. We'll see what my opponent's going to do here on this turn. They're going to get down the perimeter ATRT. Oh, that's fantastic, because I'm just going to go ahead and commandeer that. That is a card that is fantastic in this situation, because now my opponent is not going to be able to deploy Rose and kill my Asajj. And this perimeter ATRT is going to die or bounce back to their hand. So that ends up being really nice. Commandeer, guys. Really, really sick card. Really sick card. I don't know what my opponent's thinking of here, but we're going to get in for 8-10 damage, which is nice. Not game ending by any means. Like, they still have cards to play. So it's not game over. They can still deploy Rose. They can still knock out my Asajj for sure. We would really have to be relying on this Commandeer to close out the game, and like some surprise strikes and things like that. I'm just going to ignore any sort of thing from my opponent. They're going to claim initiative. That is extremely surprising. Very, very surprising, because they may be relying on this Sentinel, and I'm just going to Commandeer it again, and the game is just going to feel over. Like, I think they should have deployed Rose, since we were going to guarantee attack with everything there, because we don't really have an option. Like, our path to victory is not, we're going to claim initiative, and then hopefully we can attack with Asajj. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I think they deploy Rose, and then their first action is to kill Asajj. And then if that's the case, we still have a chance for victory. But with the Dr. Evazon and 7th Fleet as draws, I think that chance goes way, 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 way lower. And they're just conceding. I mean, I think at that point, it is going to be pretty tricky to go out and win. Really funny deck, though. As I said, I don't know what to expect. And then they played Silver Angel into Ski Speeder into Frontier ATRT. Okay, good stuff. Another matchup where we are pretty advantaged, I would say. I'm just going to resource one of these Zagarian Starhoppers and the breaking in. We're going to claim initiative, and we might just waylay back this Y-Wing to their hand, depending on what they're going to do. Oh, yeah, this is easy. Easiest waylay of my entire life, to be honest. Commandeer also could be pretty good here, but this is an easy waylay. Boink! Get rid of 2 cards from your hand, waylay back to your hand. Blue Leader, sure. Blue Leader's a pretty good card. Make my opponent take 2 damage to their base. I mean, not that we're like completely winning the game now, right? Because we don't have a unit to get in damage, but that does do some major work in actually getting us there, right? Let's go ahead and on the doorstep, just get in some damage here. They could have a couple of pilots to go ahead and drop on this Blue Leader, right? We know one of their cards in hand was that that Y-Wing. Get in for 2. Okay, they're going to deploy a bunch of units here, which isn't too bad for us, because we're going to be able to commandeer a card. Cunning, guys. Ooh, Cunning is a good card. Yeah, Cunning is a really good card. Yes, Cunning. Insane card. Yeah, let's go with the Cunning. Let's give +4/+0 to a battle droid, and we'll exhaust up to 2 units. We are going to exhaust. Red 3, not a bad card. Not a bad card at all, but definitely not that great in this particular spot. Let's get in for 5. Get in for another 5. We can take the damage onto our Asajj with this Y-Wing, so we're going to only take 5 here. I take it back. We're going to take 6 because of the... No, wait. We're going to take 5. For some reason, I thought I said 5 power. Let's get in for damage. Let's attack for 1, and now we have like a million different things that are going to win the game for us. Commandeer wins, Cunning wins, the attacks on the board win. Sure, they're just going to get in for some damage. Sure. Let's win. All right, GG. As I said, Waylay is insane in this matchup. Commandeer was insane in this matchup. Cunning was an Absolutely disgusting draw. Like, disgusting draw. But I think we still would have had a chance. Like, they deployed a lot of units there and they would have gotten in a lot of damage, but we would have had the initiative after. Let's say we just commandeer, right? Because we did have a commandeer. We commandeer a unit. Like, we would probably just commandeer this red 3, because even though both these attack in for 3, this also attacks in for 3. So it would have been the same for us, but then it also reduces their units' attacks. So we would have attacked in for 3, assuming they don't kill my red 3, which maybe they do, but then that also reduces the damage that we take. We're still getting in all this damage, -4, because of the cunning not being played. And that means that there's like a million different things we can draw. Surprise strike, breaking in, another cunning, another commandeer. Like, there's just so many things that win us the game. But absolutely sweet. Into our next hand, and we're coming up against Kylo Blue, a deck that I am really unsure as to what to expect. We have a really nice hand, though. This is like the ideal hand. We have a turn 1 play with Underworld Tag, which we always will. We have a turn 2 play should the Now There Are Two of Them not work, but we have Now There Are Two of Them should we actually go ahead and get a card that we can play with Now There Are Two of Them. Ooh, Commandeer, probably not as good in this matchup. I'm going to resource that. And then we have the Cunning, which is excellent because we're going to be able to exhaust a bunch of things. Now, in this matchup, I may actually go ahead and use Asajj to go ahead and kill off their Kylo, but we will see. Looks like they're playing some sort of first order deck. Yeah. Force unit, Padawan Starfighter. Okay. Interesting. They're going to claim initiative. We're going to play out the 7th fleet. We're going to pass. Got ourselves another Cunning. I mean, Cunning is... It's just such a disgusting card, guys. It's like so gross. The card is so gross. Like, just play Cunning. Like, if you're going to do anything, just play Cunning. So Kylo not really looking all that great. General Huck's not really doing anything for them right now. Padawan Starfighter, not really sure what they're going to be doing with that one either. So I think we're looking pretty good right now. But they got a lot of different things that they could be playing. They're going to be deploying Kylo, huh? Okay, let's just go with Cunning, Bounce, +4/+0. Yeah, let's go Cunning, Bounce, +4/+0. I want to give +4/+0 to... I suppose we will give it to the Zygerian Starhopper, because I'd rather them kill this over the 7th Fleet. I'm going for maximum value here because our hand is so stacked. Fallen Lightsaber coming down. Okay. Not a bad one. Let's go ahead and get in with the Zygerian Starhopper. Fallen Lightsaber, really, really quite solid, but we're going to get in with the 7th Fleet. We'll see if they pass here. I think it's a pretty big mistake to pass. All right. Do I want to deploy the Asajj and get in for more damage? I think I'll just claim initiative here. And interesting, Zuckuss is not really what I care about here. Let's go with a surprise strike in for 5. And that's no good to me dead the Kylo. I know I could have gotten in for 5, which would have been really nice with Asajj, but I'm kind of playing the game where I don't think my opponent can really do a whole lot, and I'd love to set up a situation where they can't do anything by Kylo Ren not being able to kill Asajj, and they won't be able to ready it next turn, so that's pretty nice. Now, Kylo Ren does get +1/+0 because of the first order unit, so that's kind of cool. But I don't really know what my opponent's doing. It looks like they're just playing like a Kylo Ren deck, but they're playing Rey. That is absolutely fantastic, to be honest. I mean, what can I say? They wanted to play a Kylo Ren Rey deck. I mean, how can I say no? How could I possibly say anything about this? Like, anything. I just couldn't. I mean, the deck is sweet. The deck is absolutely sweet. I should have gotten in with the Asajj, I suppose. I don't know. They're saying GG, but that was an interesting one. It was more just fun to see what my opponent was playing. That was a clear path to victory. But we did have the double Cunning, right? Like, we had Cunning. Cunning is a great card. We have Cunning. The game is usually our favored. Wedge red seems to be out today. Glad it's no Django red, I'll say. Let's mulligan this one. Not a huge fan of this hand. This one, on the other hand, is a lot better. And I think I would prefer the Cartel Spacer into the Toro versus the 7th Fleet. Let's go Cartel Spacer here, and we'll see what my opponent decides to do. They may have a pilot to play here. I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a Biggs or something. Waylay is really good in this matchup. They're going to take initiative and pass. Cunning is quite excellent as well, so I'm happy to see that one. We'll see what my opponent decides to do. They could just go ahead and attack my Cartel Spacer. I think if you're playing Wedge, you don't really want to be attacking units anyways. Not that we want to be attacking units, but I think they're not incentivized to attack units, even though this is kind of a nice little value trade here. Okay, they're going to go for that. I mean, hey, it's not a bad play. It's not a bad play by any means. Just not like an exceptionally disgusting play. Ooh, okay, now there are 2 of them into Zuckuss. Could be good. Do I resource the Commandeer? Or the breaking? I think I resource the breaking in here. Because what I could do is Toro attack. Now there are 2 of them Zuckuss, which will then allow me to attack with Toro another time, and then use Asajj action for a total of 7 damage, and then attack for 5, which looks pretty nice here. So now we're going to go, now there are 2 of them, Zuckuss, trigger, and then that's going to ready up the Toro again. And then we're just going to get an attack here for 4. And we have the Commandeer and the Cunning for next turn. Now, Sabine's Masterpiece is going to be amazing here. They're going to be able to... Ooh, and they have a Chewbacca. Nasty. Nasty, nasty stuff. That's going to be a massive amount of damage coming in. Let's see what they've got. They're going to be able to get in for 8 damage if they want to. Okay, we're going to go ahead and attack for 5. Really, really close game. Really close game. Let's pass. Now there are 2 of them going into the resource pile. Don't really care about that card here. Okay, we're going to go with the Cunning. +4/+0, exhaust 2 units. They can attack for 9. Ooh. That is pretty nasty. I think my opponent's deciding what to do. And attack with Sabine's Masterpiece. I mean, I don't think you really have any other option here. So we go Cunning. How much damage this? This is 10 plus 5. It's perfectly lethal. Is that lethal? 15, 3. That's perfectly lethal. That's insane. That is insane. Let's get it. Let's see it. Cunning? Did you get there? Opponent? What do you have? Tactical heavy bomber. All right. I mean, we got there. That is not an answer. They have nothing that they could possibly play at this stage. Like, they could deploy Wedge, but that's not going to get there. GG? GG. That was sweet. All right, so what do we learn with double yellow Asajj? Well, we got ourselves up into a lot of Wedge red decks today, as well as some weird ones. Definitely Sunday night, I suppose, is the time to see all those non-meta decks pop up. But the new additions, Zygerian Starhopper, just a solid piece, right? It's like that in Cartel Spacer. I think Cartel Spacer is still an amazing card, by the way. This one, just usually the 2 indirect damage can do a little bit more work depending on the matchup, which I do like. We didn't get to see Torpedo Barrage, I don't think at all in any of our matches, but we didn't really find ourselves up against the matches that that card would have been really good against. It would have been okay, but we fought a lot of unit matchups, and most of those had high toughness, which means Torpedo Barrage would have just all gone into those. And Commandeer, this one won us some games. Commandeer was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely nasty card. Really, really strong to get that immediately readied up unit just to get in some damage. Against that Rose matchup, it was just devastating, right? We also just overall the deck pretty similar to past versions. I'd love to see a spot for some more interesting 2 and 3 drops. I think that's where the deck really could use some work. Like Mercenary Gunship is good. It's reasonable, I should say. Cartel Spacer and Zygerian Starhopper are reasonable. 7th Fleet is reasonable. But there are a lot of different options you could go that are a little bit more aggressive and can potentially work a lot better. Overall, lots of fun. Extremely fast. You lose fast, you win fast. But with Commandeer, it gives you a little bit more game into the mid game. And I do think, honestly, I would just go for the full 3 of if I were you. And honestly, you may want to relegate Torpedo Barrage to the sideboard just after this experience. And go 3 of Commandeer, 3 of On the Doorstep, or maybe even go another one of the No Good to Me Deads. But overall, solid list, ton of fun. Hopefully you all give it a shot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all for the next one.